Thank you everyone who's attended today. I'm just going to briefly go over what we went over last week, and then we'll move on to this week's topic. So last week we asked a basic question: what did the Sangat think about the world? Do we think it's getting worse, better, the same? And there was general feedback from everybody. Some of the feedback was that people feeling that the world is getting worse, and a lot of the parameters around why that's happening, and different people were saying different things, but some of those things were around ego, selfishness, it's always about myself, there isn't any kindness, people don't talk to each other as much anymore, virtual life, social media. So there was loads and loads of things talked about, and various reasons why people were feeling it was getting worse. Now, what was very interesting in terms of the conclusion was that virtually everything that was said in that, and we can cover those week by week, I'll be probably bringing in bits of what was said in that first week, it's important, that was an important lesson, is that those individual items, virtually, I couldn't think of anything that was on that list that wasn't covered by Guruji. That wasn't covered by Guruji as to why that problem exists, when we talk about egos and selfishness and all those various things. Now, in terms of the lectures that are going to happen here, well, not lectures, the actual interactive sessions that are happening here weekly, what I wanted to cover was, we're doing a few projects. One of them is infographics, and one of the infographics that we've done is Emerging with God infographic, and everything on that infographic is based purely on what Bhai Gurdas Ji said. So week by week, each one of these will become an individual thing that we can talk about. I'm just going to briefly go over the items. There's about 20 something there, but it breaks down. Obviously you can't read it, but that doesn't matter. So there were basically these areas. Bad environments, Bhai Gurdas Ji talks about. He talks about the Guru, a Gursikh's daily routine, what the Sadh Sangat is as a congregation, virtues that we need to have, and serving. Now there's various things anyone wants to have read of Bhai Gurdas Ji. There's Balihari tina Gursikha, ho Sadki tina Gursikha, Gurbani tina Gursikha, ho tis kol kumaya, Gurmatare de Gribi. So those various descriptions that Bhai Gurdas Ji had, they are from a person, and if anyone doesn't know who Bhai Gurdas Ji was, he was in Guru Arjan Dev Ji's times. He actually was with at least 4 or 5 gurus actually in terms of his lifespan, and so he was with the Guru all the time, and he wrote specific writings. Now in those writings, the Sikhi says that Guruji offered to put them into Guru Granth Sahib, and Bhai Gurdas Ji out of Nimrata said no, and so Guruji said, well, we'll leave them separate, but whoever wants to understand what Gurbani is saying, that's the key to understanding it. So when we go over these items, I just briefly read them out. So in bad environments, Bhai Gurdas Ji said, stay away from lustful environments where calm gets worse. Do not cheat anyone or steal from anyone. Now that seems obvious, but we can go into that. Actually, most people cheat, right? Stay away from slandering of others, and stay away from false pleasures. So that was the first bit around bad environments. The second part around the Guru is develop humility through the Guru, lose your ego through the Guru, give your mind and body to the Guru, implant the Guru's teachings in your heart, and love the Guru's Shabad. So those are various things. Gurmat Rede Garibi Ave, Sadguru no Mil Aab Goaya. Those are the parts that Bhai Gurdas Ji says. The daily routine is to wake up at Amrit Villa, live a life inspired by the Guru, have a shower and ishnan kare, Amritsar, Bhai Gurdas says, Pichal Rati Jagna Namadan Ishnan. So an ishnan is part of Gurmat, so waking up, having a bath first thing, doing your Nityanim daily, repeat Waheguru, eat, sleep, talk little. So that's the daily routine of a Gursikh, very basic, in the basic format. The congregation, to sing the praises in the Sadh Sangat. So we, in terms of Sikhi, what we spoke about last week, generally it's become a Sunday worship program for most Gursikhs. So that's not what used to happen there in Guruji's times. It was actually daily. Serving the Sadh Sangat, loving the Sangat more than you love your family, serving the Kirtan by playing instruments. So even actually Bhai Gurdas is saying, you don't have to be a Kirtani. He said the Gursikhs used to actually sit at the back and play the instruments. So that was in the congregation what we do. The virtues, which are really important. So remain detached while living in the world. Karan udasi andar maya. So stop the mind from wandering. Bahar janda barja rahaya. Bhai Gurdas says your mind is wandering, you have to pull it back in. Keep your hopes and desires for meeting God. Live an honest life. Develop God qualities. Mitha bolana, niv chalan. So having humility. Respect all as you are a visitor. So Bhai Gurdas is saying, sorry, that's the wrong point either, I need to change it. But Bhai Gurdas is saying, you're a mehman. You have come. That's wrong there. So we've come here as visitors. So we've got to treat the world like we're visitors, not like we're going to stay here. Unfortunately, I think our actions are like we're staying here forever. And then last thing is serving. Practice the Shabad and inspires others too. By Gursikh de Gursikh Milaya. Giving to others. So to give with your hands and serve your parents. Actually, Bhai Gurdas talks about that a lot. About serving of parents and how, without doing that, how much of your Sikhi you destroy. So that's the outline. Now, one of the things that came up from last week, I think some of the feedback and other things which is really good, is that sometimes people are feeling that they're stuck in their Sikhi, and so it's got to a certain stage and then they get stuck. And usually it doesn't mean you're progressing, sometimes it means you're going back as well. So from where you've ended up, you've gone backwards. And sometimes it needs a reset. So it's just to evaluate all the things, re-look at them, re-look at what we're doing, what we're not doing, and then establish what do we need to change. So moving on to this week. So the thing I'm going to pick on this week is, there's two things really. Humility is a very big subject. It's a large one, but around the aspects of humility and forgiveness. That's what I want to talk about today, because what tends to happen when we're doing our Sikhi and day-to-day routine is that over a certain amount of time it becomes harder sometimes, and sometimes we become a very different personality, and that's because we're getting very upset because we're not progressing. And one of the reasons, there's lots of reasons. One of the reasons is the way we interact with everybody else. So when we talk about humility and forgiveness, I want to cover some specifics in Gurbani, how Guruji talks about what a Gursikh is. Now, Bhagat Kabir ji's sloks, there's a slok that comes, sorry, that's a bit bent, but Kabir Tarti Saad ki Taskar baise gahe Tarti par na byapei on ko lahu lai. Now there are two translations to that slok, but we'll go over this one. One of them is Tarti is translated as Saad Sangat. Tarti Saad ki is translated as the Saad Sangat. Here the translation is as the planet. Now it doesn't matter which one we take, it doesn't change it that much, but we'll take the planet. So if we take the translation here, but this planet is for Saad, it's for Bhakti. Really, Waheguru made this planet that when we come here, there's everybody's doing Simran, everyone's doing Bhakti here. In other words, it's a beautiful place to come to. Now, what's happened is Taskar Baise Gai. So remember these words are important, because when you're reading Bani, you might remember Taskar is a chor. So Kabir ji saying, it's a chor aa gaya. The planets it's all got infested with thieves. Tarti par na byapei unko lahu lai. Now, they're not a burden to the earth, they keep receiving its blessings. Now, the reason why this is related is, here's a Bhakti from Guruji where even though bad things are happening on the planet doesn't change its ways. It still remains good. It still does good for everybody. So for instance, if a certain person plants a flower and another person plants it, it's not going to say, I don't like you, but I like you, I'll let yours grow. It still gives you everything. So all the food, all our khana, all of our, what we wear, even our houses, everything that the materials that are made of, they all come from the Tarti. But it still keeps giving everybody, and it doesn't differentiate. Now the second thing, when we read Sukhmani Sahib, the part, Jithe Brahmgyani, the Brahmgyani Ashtapadi, so Sukhmani Sahib is broken down into 24 sections. They're called Ashtapadiyan. Now Ashtapadi for Brahmgyani, which is number 8, I think, 7 or 8, that Ashtapadi starts here. Pe Brahmgyani Sada Nirlep Jaise Jal Mein Kamal Alep. Now Guruji gives an example. He says, if you're God conscious people, the ones who do bhakti, they're like a lotus flower. The lotus flower, if you look at a lotus, it's sitting on dirty water. It's usually gandhe hunda. Its roots are in the gandh. But it's detached from that. It doesn't change its beauty. The lotus flower doesn't change its beauty even though it's sitting in gandh. It's sitting in dirt. Second example Guruji gives is Brahmgyani Sada Nirdokh Jaise Sur Sarb Ko Sokh. So a Brahmgyani always remains unstained. Jida, when the sun, it gives comfort and warmth to everybody. So it doesn't differentiate. It gives the warmth. When the sun's out, it's not going to differentiate. So if we look at the planet, when we say the planet is still giving to the chor, to the thieves, we're saying that the lotus flower remains detached even if it's in the dirt. We're saying that the sun still gives warmth to everybody and doesn't differentiate. The third thing Bhai Gurdas is saying, Guruji, Guru Arjan Dev Ji is saying is Brahmgyani ke drisht saman jaise raj rang ko lage tul pavan. So when the wind blows evenly on everybody. It doesn't go round people or anything like that. You know, it's all standard common sense, but if you have to think more deeply than what it's saying. So Brahmgyani ka tiraj ek jo basda ko khoda ko chandan lep. So the Brahmgyani, or the God conscious person, has a steady patience. Just tarah, the earth, which is dug up by one and anointed with sandal paste by the other. So one person is damaging the earth by digging. The other one's planting sandalwood in it, but it doesn't change its ways. It still gives to everybody. Brahmgyani ka ehs gunao nanak jo pavak ka sahaj swabhav. So the inherent nature of those who are God conscious is like fire. It gives everybody comfort. Fire does. So when we look at the examples in Gurbani is saying that really there's the nature around us is all forgiving. The tarti that we're sitting on is all forgiving. So when we talk about forgiveness is very, very much related to humility. When we say nimarta, the word nimarta is used, is very much related. And then one of the key concepts in Sikhi is to lose meh. Meh will only get lost if those things are there. So if there's forgiveness, humility and no ego, that's when God resides, gets closer. So the final one is short. Kabira jahan gyan te dharm hai, jahan jhoot te paap. Kabir ji, there's 4 elements inside of this slok. Jahan lob te kal hai, jahan khima te aap. Now, where there's gyan, only there can there be righteousness. When we talk about good things, religion is really bad generally. But righteousness, which is what it's supposed to be, it can only happen if there's gyan, if there's knowledge there, Guru's knowledge. Jahan jhoot te paap. Where there's lies, where lying happens, utte paap automatically. Where it's no truth isn't there, it automatically becomes a sinful place. Jahan lob te kal hai. Jithe there's greed, where there's greed, utte maut, death will come there. It's going to come. Where there's greed. But the last point here, jahan khima te aap. When we talk about trying to find God, it's a really beautiful slok. It's saying, where there's forgiveness, God comes close there. Now, one of the things when we're reading Bani about understanding God, about Waheguru, what He is, one of the personality, what is it? One of the things is God is very, very, is described as those 2 guna that Bhai Gurdas said, mitha bolan, niv chalan. So sometimes when we read Bani, it says ahankariyan nindaka pitde. Even in the Bhagavata's times, the examples that are given is that God turns his back towards hankari, jire hankari hunde a. Now sometimes we look at that as, when you look at God is described in other religions as this kind of, full of, rage and revenge and all this, that the Gurbani never describes Waheguru like that. He's not like that. Personality of Waheguru is not like that at all. Jira pit karna, the matlab that Waheguru is humble in nature, and he doesn't like, he can't relate, that cheez is coming out of our evil side. God, in terms of when you talk about blessings, stays away from all of that, but even though your daily blessings you get, but the blessing I'm talking about, which is what Gurbani talks about, which is true kirpa, true blessing for meeting God, Waheguru doesn't come close there when there's virtues aren't there. So where there's kima, this is giving us a big clue. Where there's forgiveness, God comes really, really close. God becomes very, very close. So the question for this week we're going to start with is number one. When we talk about forgiveness, do you think, like in the environments of Sikhs, forget dunya nu we're not going to blame anyone in the world. This is our guru, This is what our guru is telling us. So we're responsible here. In the environment of Sikhs, and it doesn't matter when I say Sikh, I'm saying Sikh is anybody who, in this context, is anybody who believes in Guru Nanak Dev Ji, in the 10 Gurus, in Guru Granth Sahib, comes to Gurdwara. When I'm talking about them, Sikhs practice humility and forgiveness in your mind? The second thing is, I want you to be honest in your groups and talk about the times when you don't forgive. Are there any times that you don't forgive? Now what I want you to think about is, on this planet today, and I do think about this a lot, on this planet today, you're on it, is there anybody here that you don't like, that you hate? I want you to think about that you hate. And I'm not talking about you guys pick some figure like Hitler, I hate Hitler and I hate, forget that. I'm on about in your environment, the people you've met in your lives, you've grown up, today, is there somebody that you hate? Because we'll talk about that afterwards. So the first question is, in Sikhi, do you think that humility and forgiveness is there? And think about why. And the second thing is, in your lives, who do you is there anybody that you hate? And I want you to just think about why. Why do you hate that person? So if you can get into small groups, is whatever you're comfortable in. I think a group of about 5 is good. If you think 5 is too much and you won't be able to talk in it, go smaller than that. But it's really important that you talk. And what not to do, be conscious of this, when we talk about humility, is that one person isn't doing all the talking. So just make sure, if someone's feet look a little bit shy, tease some things out of them, don't harass them. So I'm going to give you 15 minutes, because obviously we started a bit late today. So you've got 15 minutes. So I'd advise that you spend 7.5 minutes ish on, so up until about just gone 25 past. If you spend that on forgiveness and humility in the Sikh environment, and the second half on who do you hate kind of thing, or who haven't you forgiven, perhaps is another way of placing that.
To learn from it without being embarrassed in front of everyone. We have families falling apart over arguments, never talking to each other again. We also said that time, though, is a healer, so it shows that anger is like a temporary emotion. So I guess that's all. It's all in our head, really, basically, in terms of why we don't forgive. Yeah, that's everything we got for forgiveness.
Okay, thank you.
We discussed about the fact that a lot of people do struggle to forgive. A lot of people do struggle to forgive. And often we find that we can sometimes forgive the ones we're close to, but the ones, for example, people that we're not as close to, or people that are, for example, in-laws, or people that we meet not on a daily basis, we find that a struggle. And sometimes, it can cause destructive emotions. It can actually make you quite ill. you can feel quite, upset in yourself, and actually they probably don't even know they've upset you most of the time. So it's a sense of kind of letting go is a big thing as well. And I think generally, whether it's Sikhs or non-Sikhs, we do struggle anyway as human beings to be able to turn those destructive emotions into positive emotions and learn something either from it or to be able to let go altogether.
Set me up, man. Why could you go call us all?
You have to forgive them.
I think we pick and choose. We discussed who we want to forgive and who we don't, because it's our emotions take over as well. And so, like we said, that when we come to the Gurdwara, it's come that far that we don't forgive in the Gurdwara. So, like if we're doing seva or langar or something happens, we end up not forgiving. There might be a little issue, but it comes out massive. And we said, like, one good thing is that we discuss between each other, like when we come to the Guru Gar, when we set off, we should have a good thoughts and what we're going to do. Everything should be positive, but we might set off and thinking bad, but what about if that person's at the Gurdwara? Then I think we lose the whole essence. As soon as we set off to see Guruji, we go in the wrong direction straight away.
There isn't enough forgiveness. People take little things too seriously. And there's a lot of hate. It's not just the Sikhs, but everywhere. Nobody wants to forgive anybody, and everybody talks about each other. Like the guys over there were talking about Facebook and stuff. That's not just there. You get the little Bibia and the Gurdwara as well, the old ones, talking about stuff that's happened and disrespecting you and stuff. Instead of saying, look, they're younger than you, they're kids. Just if you don't know what to say, encourage them, tell them what they're doing is wrong, and advise them in a better way instead of saying that, talking about them and say they're not doing the right things.
The first thing that we picked up on is that we don't seem to remember that we're Sikh before we're Punjabi, in the sense that we always keep this Punjabi mentality with us, how we kind of pick on everybody's faults. We rather see the upgun in people rather than looking at their gun. So if somebody's done us wrong, every time we see that person, we'll always think of what they've done to us or what they may have done to somebody else, and that instead of focusing on what good things that people do, it makes us it makes us anti-forgiveness, basically, in the sense that we can't forgive somebody because we can't let go of all the bad things they do. So we can't become Brahmgyanis, obviously, because we can't ever look at somebody the same as an actual Brahmgyani would. We'd rather focus so much on all the bad that people do, it causes dukkha in ourselves as well.
So did anyone talk about in the families, like parents, the examples you set to children about forgiveness? So for instance, if a husband and wife aren't talking to each other for 3 weeks, and the examples that you said, did anyone talk about that? No?
As a group, we discussed is there humility amongst Sikhs, and the consensus of opinion was that arguments are creating a lot of distance amongst families and friends. It's all about me, I. Everyone is focused on their own lives these days, and we don't practice what we preach as Sikhs, and the fact that ego is overpowering humility. And it's really interesting. One of the Benji said that without love there is no humility, which we all agreed with as well. That's it, thank you.
So we came to the kind of conclusion that Sikhi-wise, certainly in Gur Sikhi, we certainly perceive there to be forgiveness. I mean, we've got Sakya such as Jali Mukte where Guru Sahib forgave, but then there's also many other times where I guess there wasn't some sort of forgiveness. So it's a matter of perception these days. I mean, certainly in the mainstream as well. So that was kind of our ballpoint on forgiveness. Yeah.
Forgiveness is, the Asian community is judge and jury themselves actually. When something, if you have an incident happen in your family, say with your kids or anything like that, you're suffering yourself as it is because of the incident. But the community makes you like pay for it 3 times over. You know, because there's no forgiveness. I don't know, other people, your insecurity makes other people very stronger, you know, other people's insecurities make other people strong. And yeah, the parents are just coming into it, parents and Nam comes into it as well. Nam is the main thing, because we're not doing enough Nam Japna. So therefore that's, because that hatred takes over, or annoying, whatever you want to call it, it takes over. Because we're not pure inside.
Humility, what we were saying was that, you was asking were Gursikhs humble. Personally, I don't think so. The majority of us are not. There's maybe a handful that actually are, that are proper Gursikhs, that are just on a different level to everybody else. The majority of us, we're not humble, we're not forgiving. There's certain things that can't be forgiven, like say attack on 84, that kind of thing. But at a personal sort of level, there isn't really anything that can't be forgiven, but we still don't forgive. It comes back to what they were saying back there about that Punjabi mentality. That, you know, you've picked a fight with me, this is going to go on for generations now.
We looked at some examples in the history of Sikhi as well, of how we have shown forgiveness as well. Like, so there's Guru Gobind Singh Ji had like gold tip towers, so even though he did the Mughals, or even though the Mughals, they were hit by if they were hit by the arrow, their families could still sell the gold and live on from that as well. And there was also by Ganaya Ji, who gave the water to the soldiers who, even on both sides of the war. Also there was Satta and Balawan from Guru Arjan Dev Ji's time, and there's quite a lot of examples. And also we looked at hatred and how the definition can vary of hatred, and if some people might say that hatred is that you want that person dead, or you don't like that. Some people might mildly dislike them, that's hatred. So everyone has their own example, so yes.
The same you said about the parents, that if the kids don't respect the parents, so that it comes out of their Sikhi. I think it works both ways. You can't expect the kid to, it's not always the child's fault that they have to respect their parents. It's always up to the parent to respect that child as well. Respect has to come both ways. Just because the parent's older, it doesn't automatically give them the right that they are right. They deserve all the respect. That child deserves respect too.
Mm-hmm. There's 2 other areas of forgiveness. Because if there is no forgiveness in this Sangat, remember when we talked about that cheese there, and Gurbani says, "Bhai, Sat Sangat naam nidan hai jithon har paya." Eto Rab milda, from this Sangat. So if in this Sangat there's no forgiveness, then that automatically means that God's not close to that congregation. That's my take of what Gurbani is saying to me, you know. You could have a different take on that, but God's not close. But there's 2 things about forgiveness that were at a further level. Some people I've spoken to can't forgive themselves. They can't forgive themselves, and that's a downward spiral. The other thing is, some people don't forgive God. They don't forgive God, and that might sound like a really big, bold statement, but we might be doing it at a smaller level. So for instance, something hasn't worked out for you, your Sikhi was generally quite strong, and it's not worked, you go to a different level, and all of a sudden that's not important anymore. We blame, Vaheguru nu blame kar dita. I've seen Gursikhs do various things when they've gone to that level. Really various things, you know? So there's that part too. So if we're working in a kind of a world of, or a mind, let's say, a mindset of non-forgiveness, then that expands even wider than sometimes what we think. So that was the first part. We'll come into that in a bit more detail shortly because we'll run out of time. Very quickly, in terms of who said a really juicy answer to this next question, is in terms of on this planet, in terms of your life, that someone you feel that you've still got, I'd say hatred, as I think this group mentioned here, is good. The hatred's got different levels, and it can be a harsh word. might not be hatred, but you haven't forgiven. Did anyone have a conversation about that? Where forgiveness hasn't happened for somebody in your environment, let's say.
When we discussed hate, we said hate is quite a strong emotion. We mentioned that a lot of people sometimes think love and hate are the opposite. But there's another take, which is love and hate are on the same side of the scale. They're very strong emotions. Whereas what we really want is on the other side of love and hate, strong emotions, the other side is indifference. Where if to that person or that thing is indifference, it's neither good or bad. It's neither love or hate. It is what it is, and you accept it for what it is. So that was a small message that we had as well.
So we said that rather than hate, which is a very strong word, we said that for us, hate means if someone was in a fire, would you save that person? And we all said yes, of course. But I think it depends on the situation. So for me personally, at work, when a manager might put you down and make you feel that you don't know anything, in that situation, you don't like that how you feel. It's not the person itself, it's a characteristic of that person that you don't like, but it's not the actual person.
I like that cop-out clause. So you're saying you don't like what they did to you rather than not liking the person, right? Yeah.
Okay, one of the Benjis made a really good point. They said that when you're young, you use the word hate quite freely. As you get older, you become wiser. You don't use the word hate, but what you do is you create coping mechanisms to distance yourself, to avoid becoming bitter. So you kind of disassociate yourselves from certain individuals, so you don't create that bitterness. So you put a block to it before it happens, if that makes sense. So yeah, I think you create coping mechanisms. Yeah.
Was that said in a positive? Was that positive or negative? Was that said in a positive manner or a negative?
No, a very positive manner.
Yeah, okay,
really
good.
Positive, yeah.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. You do distance yourself only because you can feel negative energy, and if you've got positive energy and negative comes towards you, it brings your positive energy down. So what happens in life, for example myself, there are certain people, whether it's your family, relatives, friends, people that you've known, you don't delete them out your life, you just put them to one side. You still associate with them, but to a certain point, you know. Some people, they just totally delete them. With me, I don't delete. They're still there, I still respect them, I still love them, but because you can feel their energy, you don't want their negative energy coming towards your positive energy. And I think as you get older, these are some of the points you create for yourself. You know, if you want to swim that ocean a bit, keep your head up high. You okay?
The hate and love could be on the same side of the scale, but I think it's also in denial that as human nature, we might feel that there's someone that we don't like, we don't want to get over that person, but we might just hide it. So I do think there is feeling still that, you know, you might not want to get over that. You try your best to get over a person or something, but it might not always work out that way. So that's my feeling about, maybe it's the word hatred, that's probably the wrong thing, because I always thought the word hatred meant just like you just don't like someone, but like someone said earlier, I can't remember who it was, that hatred could actually mean as bad as you want that person dead or something, for example.
When the group over there said, when you're a kid, you make the word hate up, because you don't really, I don't like that kid, I hate that kid or something, but as you grow older with maturity and stuff, you try to realise that the word hate is too much of a big word, it's too strong. So it doesn't mean that you actually hate them like well, you want them to die or something. You may just dislike them or dislike their personality. So that's it really.
these guys do, saying that when in the classroom, when they go to civil school, and the teachers shout at them, and they do all sorts, jaber, they get a bit gusse for a bit, and then they just forget about it. So it's just for the heat of the moment, they rise up here and they cool down. So, but then they don't have hate. It's just like for 2 seconds while they're angry. So as anger comes out, a bit of odd emotion, and they're back to normal next day. They're not at civil school.
I gather.
We basically said that it's all about the moment. So before we might have disliked someone, but now we don't. So it's really based on the time period. That's what we agreed on as a group. So we don't really hate anyone. We think that is a strong word too. So we agree with most of the points. It's about the energy at the time, and like Baji said before. So why did you go Khalsa? Why did you get that?
And Kabir ji saying, Jithe khema, where there's forgiveness, utthe God is there. So are we all forgiving then? If we don't hate anybody, or we don't have a kind of we don't have a grudge, let's say, against anybody, or we don't differentiate, then God's really close then, right? Kabir ji saying, from that virtue, respect. So when we go through Gurbani, I mean, one of the hardest cheese, this is going on the hard part of Sikhi. Sikhi, which don't take, Dastar Sajani is not a hard thing. It looks hard. People will say things to you for 1 day, 2 days, then after they just see you as that anyway. Bana Pana is not a hard thing. Nitnem Karna is not a hard thing. Coming to Gurdwara specific days of the week is not necessarily a hard thing. But the difficult cheese in Sikhi is to lose yourself. And the elements of that, this is one of a number of elements. This is only one of them. When we talk about nimarta, when we talk about humbleness, we talk about forgiveness. They're huge, but they have to be nourished. They need something. We don't just wake up and say, well, I'm just a forgiving person. They need to be nourished. That thing needs to be your mind needs to be reminded. And what we will cover in Gurbani is, in Gurbani talks a lot, mere man, mera man, e man, re man. It's telling in mind consistently. Bani talks so much to the man, where when we're reading it, we're supposed to be talking to ourselves. It's not to be, I'm doing Kirtan, I'm doing it to you. It's not. Kirtan's to yourself. Then Sangha joins in and they do it to themselves. Then it becomes Kirtan. Nityanem is to yourself. When you do it collectively, everybody does it to themselves, then it becomes a Sangat. And these are these things you need to be doing internally. We have to have a forgiveness. Now, that cheez, Bhai Gurdashi says, Naam, Dan, even Ishnan. When we talk about Ishnan, it's not just a physical Ishnan, in terms of having a bath. First thing, Pichal Jagana, the point of that is that forgiveness is supposed to be practiced there. That's part of your Ishnan. To be humble, to be nimarta, that's part of your Ishnan. Ishnan is not just wake up, I do some simmer and do my Nityanem. Bhai Gurdashi is saying, Drirta hundi of Naam, Dan and Ishnan there. So our Ishnan is external, it's internal as well. And Guruji says the best way, or the only way really, of having an internal Ishnan, we have an external one, and throughout Gurbani, a Ishnan or a bath at the Ganges and S.H.A.R.E Tirath, 68 places of pilgrimage that are across India, various places, is condemned all the way through Gurbani. Because Guruji is saying that Ishnan is an external one. To have the internal one, Guruji says, you read it in Japji Sahib every day, Sunya, Manya, Man Kita Pao. Gurbani nu sunna, hear it, unu manna, to accept that it's true, but then to have a love for it. Antargati Ritamanna, then the internal Ishnan happens. So that internal Ishnan, to have it doesn't just mean how many hours did I spend listening to Bani. It's about what did Guruji say and how have I implemented it. So although we've touched on a surface of forgiveness. I think we've touched on some areas. In your mind, if you really think hard, there are certain people who we don't forgive. And that forgiveness might be at a certain level. It might not be, it might not be to the level that BG or someone else mentioned. But you want to have them dead or something. But it's at a level where it's affecting your closeness to Waheguru. It's affecting it. So this is one element that you've got to remember. If we can have that, if you can learn to forgive quickly and move on and say, for a lot of the time for a Gursikh or for anyone who's trying to be spiritual, let's put it that way. If you're trying to be spiritual, it's so much weight off your head to just forgive somebody and do something for them rather than hold on to that baggage. Now, one of the stories I read once, and it always stuck with me, that story did, is that there was 3 saints, and saints, you use the word in brackets, or quotes, sorry, saints who they swore on saying, we're never going to touch a person, particularly never going to get married, and they're not going to touch a female. So they were walking along, they reach a riverbank, and on the riverbank there's a woman crying there. She can't get across the river. She's scared, she can't swim, or dar gayi. She goes, if I don't get home, I'm going to be in so much trouble. One of those sadhu took her, picked her up, took her across, put her down, and they walked on. 3 miles later, right, they're not talking, they didn't talk for 3 miles. The 3 miles later, one of the sadhu said to her, the one who picked her up, he said, we'd promised something and you broke it because you touched somebody and we've moved on. And the other answer, a profound answer, he said, I let her go 3 miles back, you still carrying her. Now it's sochan wali gal hai, you need to think about that. He said, I let her go 3 miles back, you still carrying her. So the things that we're holding in our minds is weird baggage. Bahut weirder. It's really not right. And that baggage is about individuals, it's about people, it's about things, and we haven't let that go. So part of forgiveness is letting go, and it's not hard. No one's saying it's not easy. This isn't easy, but it's part of a saintly personality. When we talk about there's virtues. Our virtues are not just as who does the best thing in the Gurdwara, who looks the best. It's not about that. It's usually the one who looks like they're nothing. They're usually the ones who've gone further. In Gurdwara, mere varge nahi hunde, the ones standing on stage, gallan karde thode naal, kirtan karde. They're not. The ones who've gone further are the ones who you don't know. Unnu pata nahi hunda because they developed nimarta, they developed seva. And one of the really good things what Bhai Gurdashi says is Sara nu jehda Gursikh, he's given eyewitness account of what Gursikhs used to act like. And he knew, Bhai Gurdashi knew about the blessing when Guruji gives it, who does he give it to? And he gives it to the Gursikh. One of the things that he wrote is the ones that they fed everybody and they eat afterwards. And there might not be anything left. But that's not the point about the food. The point is the attitude. The attitude of saying, the Sangat's everything, I'm nothing. And it doesn't really matter whether whatever I have, if I don't have anything. So, but that's what I'm saying. Look, think about the attitude. When we go through all these things, think about the attitude. And one of the other things is, when Guruji talks about Swami ko greh jo sada swan tajat nainit Nanak ebid har bhajo ek man hoy ek chit. Now Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji in the 9th Pasha, this slok, Guruji says, you want to understand what bhakti is? Because you're like a dog stays at his master's door. Has anyone here had a dog? Dog. Kutte nu, I had a dog, I was young then. Unme Shitarla, I got a dog, there's a Doberman, and I used to bite loads of people and stuff. But that dog, and as soon as you tell it off, oh chunju kalla padana, and I just say, oh come here now, he should forgive, he should get really happy straight away. Jada kutta hai forgives you straight away. Banda hai is worse than a kutta, man. The banda is worse than it's sad to say it in that way, But it don't hold anything. The dog don't hold anything. And even at that point, if someone was saying something, he used to sense stuff, so he's talking to me in a wrong way, he should go for it, he should sense it. But that's even after he's been told off, It forgives. So when Guruji is saying serve Waheguru like the dog serves his master, what does that mean? Guru's not telling us to become dogs, right? But what he's saying is look at his nimrta, look at his forgiveness, look at how it doesn't chitte nahi rakhda kuch bhi. And where you're going to learn the most forgiveness from in Bani is from a mother and her son. Now mothers and not chamalondiya mudeya nu na, my mum's the worst, but when Guruji talks about it, Guruji says Sut aparad, Kabir ji da shabd, Sut aparad karat hai jete, janani cheet na rakhaste te. Now I've said to everybody here before, when we used to do Iltan, we were young, Iltan, we used to come home at 2 o'clock, knock on the door. Mummy said, she goes, oh, tu kithe turya firda jidda edda aaj 5-6 galan kar deni and sit down. But after I sat down, she used to say, roti khani. This is 2 o'clock at night, So she's woken up, she's tired. Even nowadays, no one does that for you. 2 o'clock at night, so you wake up and you just bear around and go and eat what you want. But ma edda kendi ya bhai tu ki khana. So that she's got forgiveness. And Kabir ji's done a benti to Waheguru. He goes, Ramaiya, hum barak tera, kahe na khandas avguna mera. The mother forgave her son. He goes, mere bhi avguna tu chete na kari. But remove them. And that, je at krob kare kartaya, tabi cheet na rakasmai. If his son runs away from home, the mother, when he comes back, oh chappi palendiya. She never says, tu kithe gaya, don't talk to me ever again. Oh jappi palendiya. And that's what Kabirji is doing, this benti, say, look at that forgiveness, how mother forgives her son. Now Waheguru will forgive, because what we're trying to get from God, that humility and forgiveness, the same forgiveness we want from Him, we don't practice it ourselves, That's the issue. The forgiveness we want from Waheguru, je mere avgun, my paap, the ones I've done in this dunya, oh, that teri lag jani hai of what bad stuff. My paap, ਉੱਥੇ ਢੇਰੀ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਣੀ ਹੈ and I'm saying as Gursikh ਚਲੋ ਮੈਂ ਹਜੂਰੀਆ ਪਾਇਆ ਮੈਂ ਬਾਣੇ ਪਾਇਆ and God should just forgive me like that, but my mind is like a patthar and it says ਮੈਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ forgive ਕਰਨਾ. How dare you do that to me? I'm mafia boss, ਇਸ level ਤੇ ਪਹੁੰਚ ਗਏ ਆ. So we're like that, but we're saying God's got to forgive everything that we've done. ਇਹਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਅਨਿਆਓ. It's called ਬੀਜੇ ਬਿਖ ਮੰਗੇ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ Vekho now, that we plant poison, then when it's growing, we said, oh, that koi amrit ban jave, some sugar, but you planted poison, something edible should come out of our poison that we plant. So, one of the key things, again, on a journey of multiple things, jara forgiveness hai gaya, attitude, it's not a habit, it's an attitude, and forgiveness and the amount of problems, I do get phone calls, this Paji gets some, a lot of people, they get them, you know what, this has happened in my family, this has gone this far, and when you look at it, it's really, really bad stuff in terms of attitude. And you only find out how useful something is when you lose it, You only find out how much value it's got when you lose it. And when they've lost it, then they ring up and say, "Wana kush karo," and you say, whoa, what about this, ABC, this bit, it's all a mess, So, particularly in our homes, we've got to have some level of happiness, and it's hard sometimes. It's the daily thing that we talked about last week. We are stuck in a day-to-day, 9 to 5, 9 to 6, 9 to 7, day-to-day. We're doing that all the time. We don't even forgive our own selves for what we need to be really doing in our lives. So that's what I wanted to cover, and I do want to just offer, has anyone got any questions about this topic? Tiga? Is that right? So because it's getting a bit late, what I still want to do is still want to practice jari apna abhyasa. We still want to do Simran. I want everyone to understand. So if you can just sit in a chaunkri marke just for a few minutes, because the practical part of Sikhi, this is not all about vichara. The practical cheez in Sikhi is that, your mind, the stillness of it, to try and stop it, that doesn't come when there's turmoil going on. When there's turmoil going on in your mind, stillness nahi aana. So one of the things we've got to do is the dirty baggage of non-forgiveness, you have to remove all of that. You have to really think, you might have to think a bit harder, but you have to just be change. Hatho dekhe pala manaye. Forgot by Gurdas ji. And the one slok that I forgot, that was really important, the Farid ji the slok hai gaya, and Farid ji slok, Farida Bureda Palakar. Someone's done bad to you, na? According to our Guru and our Gurmat and our Gurbani, Guruji saying, Oda koi pala kar de. Find something good that you can do for them. Thode liye mara kita na ne. But find some way of doing something good to them. But Farid ji is saying something that happens from that. Dehi rog na lag gayi, palle sab kish paaye. Your body will not get diseased, Farid ji says. By practicing that, someone's done bad to you, find a way of doing good to them. Your body won't get diseased, and palle sab kish paaye. Whatever you need, Waheguru tu kuch bhi mangoge na, wo sara kuch mil jana. You get everything. So that, look how important that aspect was. So the reason why I asked it about the Sikh community is, the Najwan, they are really, really bad. Menu sharman diya. They say, I'm a generation older than what I record Najwan now. Menu sharman diya about what we're producing. Sharman diya. So the Jesus, these aged gun hagya, we're going to build them. You should understand them one by one. Ek guna di pehla loda. We talk about fights after. Guna di loda pehla. First we have to establish these. When we've got these, then all those things we talk about bringing beauty to this planet, whichever way that is, that can only happen when the Gursikhs start doing bhakti. Bhakti is not just like I say, because you went to that program or you did this. That's not bhakti. Bhakti is the virtues that stay there with you. They're with you all the time. So what we're going to do just for a few minutes. Just Simran Hagaya for this week. What are you going to do just when your thought goes away to see Ek Gurbani di Pankti le laniya. Even if you just say Ek Onkar, Tika, you remembered one of Waheguru's virtues. Pankti had things like O ki kadi na dekhan de. Mat dekh bhula visra. Manu, you grab the Pankti, focus on it and bring it back in to do Simran again. Visra nahi datar. Koi bhi Pankti, it doesn't matter. But to the Gurbani nu use karna while you're doing Simran. Amrit Bani man vasaye, Amrit Naam Dhya Baneya. Dono cheezain work together. You need Bani and Naam. You need both things. So some people do loads of Bayasi, Ikki, Japji Sahib de kar le, very good. X amount of Sukhmani Sahib, very good. But Naam Abhyas di load av naal. Because without Naam Abhyas, with Bani, that doesn't mean you've completed Jiri Bhakti Hagiya. Naam Abhyas needs to be done as well. But Gurbani is very essential. And Gurbani needs to be done, and otherwise Naam doesn't go further either. It has to be pushed further with Bani. So see, everyone sit up straight please. Manu, body, if you just relax your bodies. And if your mind runs away, Antanu Liana. But like Bhai Gurdas ji says, Bar janda, bar jara hai. Jin bar nu janda hai, Antanu Liana wapas. Waheguru, 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 Waheguru,